Hello everyone, so welcome to our webinar on how to market your online fundraising campaign with minimal spend. The webinar today is presented by myself, Persia. I am the online marketing manager here at Givergy and I look after Givergy.com, which is our consumer-facing platform.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Musgrove. I'm the Senior Business Development Manager and I look after all new business on Givergy.com.
I'm Natasha. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for all our B2B marketing across the globe.
Yeah, so the webinar today is being recorded live, so if anything goes wrong, you know why. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, submit them through the chat box on the side of your screen, and we'll do a little Q&A session at the end. If you're watching a recording after, tweet us your thoughts. Our handle is @GivergyUK, and use our hashtag #RaisingMore. So the agenda for today's webinar, we're going to run through the online fundraising landscape to give you a bit of background knowledge, teach you 5 simple steps to success, show you some free marketing channels that you can use to best market your campaign, talk you through some case studies, and give you those all-important tips and tricks to take away. Okay, so we're just going to give you a bit of an overview of the online fundraising landscape. So 47% of over 60s donated online in 2017. So that's absolutely incredible. The older generation are definitely becoming more tech savvy, which is great news for charities. It's so much easier to track online donations, not just for your finance team, but you can really see what converted those people to donate, which will only further strengthen your marketing strategy. Email messaging accounted for 26% of all online revenue. Not surprised by that at all. Emails are a great way to make direct contact with your supporters, and it's definitely mine and Tasha's favourite channel here at Givergy, as you do see those immediate results. But Tasha's going to talk you through how to make the most of your email campaigns in a little bit. Only 3% of charities rate their board and executive leadership as being digitally savvy. That's quite shocking, isn't it? If we make assumptions that those people are older and don't really understand the power of online fundraising, make sure you're sharing analytics and stats from your campaign so that they can see the results. No one can argue with numbers. So 72% of donors trust websites and email addresses that end in .org. And I think by contrast, only 30% said they would trust the domain .net. So something as small as changing that over could make a huge difference to your online fundraising campaign. If you are currently .net, do some further research and see how easy it would be to switch over. And then lastly, overall revenue from online giving grew by 14% in 2016. So I have been searching everywhere for the stats from 2017, and I don't think they've been released yet. But we do definitely expect to see that rise over the next few years. Online fundraising does have a lot less overheads than offline fundraising, so you are bound to see a higher return on investment. I actually read an article the other day that said 85% of the UK no longer carry cash at all, so it is especially important that fundraisers up their online fundraising game and ensure that their website and any content that they are sharing is done well, and it needs to lead down that funnel to eventually gain more donations.
Okay, so I'm now going to take you through the different stages in the buyer's journey. It's important to keep these stages in mind when creating content, whether that's a blog or a Facebook post, and I'm going to explain exactly why. So the buyer's journey is made up of these three stages: the awareness stage, consideration stage, and the decision stage. In the awareness stage, the donor is identifying a problem. Think about the problems that your cause is looking to assist or prevent. Keep in mind it's likely your donor isn't even aware that they want to give to your particular cause at this point. So it's your job to really spend some time to present the issue, the problem to them. In the consideration stage, they've decided they want to donate to a cause that helps elevate the problem that you have just presented to them. And in the decision stage, they have a short list of charities they'd like to donate to. So this is where you can use content to convey exactly how the money you raise will make a difference. And this is really where you can kind of plug your charity. So it's key to remember these stages when creating content. You don't want to ask for donations when donors are in the awareness stage. It's all about strategically moving them through each stage with the relevant content.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Tash. So with any piece of marketing content you produce at any stage of the buyer's journey, there are 5 simple steps to success that you can use. First of all, you need to identify who your target market is and what they would need. So let's say, for example, you're a charity that's to do with animal welfare. You might target a group of 24 to 35-year-old vegetarians or vegans. Think about what they would want or need. It might be that they're outraged by a recent law that has been passed, and envisage what they would want to do to help. Think about your audience, do a little research, but it's also completely okay to make assumptions here. If they are 24 to 35, they're likely to be young professionals, so think about how much they could realistically afford to donate and make it easy for them to do so. You'll need to include a call to action. In this case, it would be a button or a link that leads to your donation page. You then need to think about this demographic and which channels they would be likely to use and which they would engage with the most. Again, I think it's completely fine for you to make assumptions. In this case, I'd guess social media, but steer away from Instagram, which is largely visual, and try something like Twitter, where you can utilize the reach of trending hashtags. Now you've managed to get them to donate, you'd think your work is done right. But no, it's really, really important that you follow up. Only 19% of first-time donors are retained, and studies have shown that this is usually due to a lack of communication from the charity. Sending a payment receipt here is just not going to cut it. You need to make your donor feel appreciated. People want their gift to be acknowledged, they want to see the difference it has made, and they want to know if the charity requires further support. Follow up with a thank you email, and once your project has seen headway, let your donors know the advancements you've made, and then they will very likely donate again.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few really quick, cost-effective tips that you can apply to your website. And I mean, you don't have to do these immediately. You can apply these tips over the course of like 2-3 months, spend half an hour a day. It's really worthwhile to kind of do these quick tips. So the first one, keywords. Choose specific keywords to target over broader, longer terms, as you don't have as much competition to rank for them, and use them across all your content efforts. So whether that's a blog or even your tweets and Facebook posts or even on LinkedIn. This will get you ranking higher in Google without having to spend so much on ads. If you're not sure what keywords you should be using, you can use Google's free keyword planner to find the right keywords. It's super easy to navigate around and will ensure you're on the right track. Site structure. So to rank well, your site must be easy to use, and donors must find it really easy to navigate around, not only on desktop, but we really can't push mobile any more than we already do. It's so important to make sure it is that versatile. A poorly designed site will cause readers to abandon your site, which will affect the amount of donations you receive. So really do invest time ensuring you provide a positive experience. You might be able to make some quick changes via your CMS, perhaps it's WordPress or another bespoke system that you use. Site speed. So if your site loads slowly, readers won't stick around, which will lower your Google ranking. One way to speed up your site is to compress images on your page to 300 KB or less if at all possible. And what else is so important is the amount of time that people spend on your website depends solely on your ability to provide a well-functioning website, as well as worthwhile content to read. So the longer your readers stay on your website, the higher you will rank in Google, as it's proof that you're providing value to the person that found your amazing website. Number of inbound links, so also known as backlinks. Inbound links are links to your website from another. Producing useful, shareable content will encourage other companies to share and link to your content. The more links you have pointing to your website, the higher you will rank in Google, which actually leads really nicely onto the quality of inbound links point. The more established the site that shares your content, the better. For instance, an inbound link from the Institute of Fundraising or your corporate partner will go a long way in helping your site rank higher in Google. So you want to make sure that they're already ranking higher, they're already ranking well. So to get a link back from those guys is huge.
Yeah, and I think just, this doesn't necessarily seem like marketing tips, but this is the foundation that you need to build before you can really progress on to building those bigger marketing campaigns. Just to go back to the site structure, if you do have a dev team or an external company that manage your website, check if they've submitted an XML sitemap to Google. This just enables Google to crawl your site easier and quicker, and it will just help, again, increase your ranking in Google. And just another little tip, if you are trying to reduce images that you pop on your website to under 300 KB, there's a really cool free tool you can use called Riot. So that stands for Radical Image Optimization Tool. And it's just a really easy way for you to get those images down, compressed. Yeah.
That sounds great. Thanks, Persia. Okay, so we're going to jump into a quick poll now. Have you ever heard of Google Ad Grants? I'm going to give you the chance to pop in your answer in just a second. Okay, so you should have a few options in front of you right now. Okay, I can see a few of them coming through.
That's interesting.
So interesting, yeah. I'll give you a few more seconds to pop that through.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to share these results with you because they're actually really interesting. So 38% have said no, they've never heard of it. 25% have said yes, but I haven't set one up, and 38% are already using them, which is so great to see. Persia's going to for those of you that don't know too much about this, Persia's going to give you a little bit more detail.
Yeah,
it can help you.
I think we're all quite shocked by those results because we haven't ever heard a charity who have personally done that. So for those of you that don't know, Google Ad Grants is an initiative that gives $10,000 worth of advertising to nonprofits completely free every month. So when people search for nonprofits or related keywords, the ads will appear first in the sponsored section, which increases awareness and donations. As Tash mentioned before, you can use Google's analytical tools to help find out which keywords and descriptions are most effective. So every time someone clicks on your ad, it will cost anything up to $2. And once you reach that $10,000 price cap, your ad will be removed until the next month. So there's absolutely no way that you're going to get charged anything on top of that. And to be eligible, you just need to be a registered charity, which I assume most of you are, have a live website, again, I'm sure you've all got that, and not be heavily supported by government funding. So unfortunately, hospitals and universities aren't eligible. So if you would like to get one set up, go to google.com/grants.
Yeah.
And for those of you that have heard about it, I can't believe you haven't done it yet. Free money.
It's gold dust. And oh my God, what we wouldn't do to have 10 grand on our budget. So yeah, definitely utilize this free tool. It's incredible.
Yeah. And let us know how it goes if you do set one up.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that leads quite nicely into implementing a blog. If you aren't already doing one, here are some tips on how to kind of maintain a blog and some best practices too. So build awareness. You can use your blog to build awareness and trust. You can respond to your donors' concerns, and it really is the perfect platform as it gives you the space to kind of explain why your cause exists. Other platforms like social media cap you with character limits, and in an email to your database, you don't really want to go on and on. People don't want to read loads of copy. So this really is the perfect place to kind of lay that foundation down. You can use your blog also to drive people to your website by telling them your story and inspiring them. You'll want to provide as much information as possible in order to convince donors to support your cause or to simply educate them on the issues you face. Don't forget to share your blog via other channels like social media. I think that one's key because you could have all this great content, publish it on your website, but if you forget to get it out there in the big wide world, you haven't maximized your efforts. So get that blog published, but then also share it via your social media channels, definitely LinkedIn too, and maybe an email blast to your database. Perhaps actually the most beneficial part of adding a blog to your website is that the content can help boost your ranking in search engines organically. Cover a variety of topics in your blog posts that are related to your cause and plug keywords and phrases when relevant. It's important not to purposely overuse them, as Google will recognize it as I love this phrase, keyword stuffing, and drop your rank authority. So you spend so much time on this amazing content, and because you're aware that you do need to use these keywords and phrases, you plug them everywhere, and then all of a sudden Google's penalizing you. So do use them naturally and organically through your content.
And I think with that, Google is clever enough to know that if you use, the same words but just an alternative of a word.
A different order.
Yeah, exactly. A different order or slightly different words that have the same meaning. So it makes it a bit easier for you to get them in there and still improve your rankings.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another way to kind of get around it. We know it can be difficult to constantly come up with new topics. At Givergy, we have numerous brainstorming sessions to kind of revamp and freshen up our copy, but you can use blogs that you've written in the past that are still relevant to your readers and just update the images, stats, titles, and the URL, as Google will see this as a new post, which is brilliant, and it does save time when you're kind of you've got loads to get on with, and writing a blog just isn't priority. So you can just kind of go through the list of topics that you already have and kind of freshen them up. But what we do advise is that you do not copy and paste old content into a new post. Google sees this as cheating and will penalize you and lower your ranking. So please refrain from doing that. It's so easy to kind of freshen up old content as opposed to copying and pasting it. So that's definitely one tip to note down. And also, include a call to action to entice readers to further interact with your cause. And this really doesn't have to be like a pushy donate now button. It could just be a link to another blog or a link to a page on your website that kind of further educates them on the great work that you're doing. And yeah. The next point, create content that can be shared. Educational content is more likely to be shared than a direct ask for donations. So include stats and make it visually interesting to help readers understand the issue. The more you educate people about your problem, the more likely they will donate. If you're fundraising for a war-torn country, give your readers insight into the war, the atrocities, how long it's been going on for. People want to know about the effectiveness of your cause before they donate. And your blog, it truly is the perfect place to do this.
I think that's a good point, because sometimes stuff doesn't reach the mainstream media, so it's a way for you to actually get out what you're aiming to help with.
Yeah, exactly that. And you can kind of share those nitty-gritty details and really help educate people that just aren't aware, and not to their fault. They just don't know. And of course, don't forget to include social sharing icons. This is so important. You want to make it super easy for your readers to then pass this amazing content that you spent so long curating, pass it on to colleagues or friends and family. So yeah, don't forget those icons. In addition to publishing press releases on your website, you can also rejig this copy and end up with a really great, interesting blog article. Your blog is a brilliant permanent home for this type of content, and it will kind of shake up and add a different element to the stuff that you're already doing. So yeah, don't forget to include that type of content within your blog too. And it can also just help you interact with potential donors, as they have the ability to comment and they can create a discussion. So we'd also recommend including a blog sign-up form so people can opt in to be added to your database and have new content sent to them via email. So if you do have any questions on any of the stuff that we've gone over so far, please do pop them into the chat feature and we'll get to them as soon as we can. I know it's a lot to take in one go, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk a bit about Giving Tuesday. For those of you that don't know, Giving Tuesday takes place on the last Tuesday in November, so you've got plenty of time to start planning your campaign. It takes place just after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's the biggest day of charitable giving worldwide, raising the most money for charity in just 24 hours. Last year they raised around £260 million, with 1 in 10 people doing good stuff for charity. It's the UK's #1 Twitter trend on the day, with over 2,000 companies registered as official Giving Tuesday partners, just like us here at Givergy. And celebrities like Richard Branson, Emma Watson, Cara Delevingne, and Ricky Gervais were all involved in the discussion on Twitter. All nonprofits should create a Giving Tuesday campaign. It's a great way to increase your reach through the use of the hashtag on the day. You just need to head over to the Giving Tuesday website to register, and then the Giving Tuesday team will share your campaign on their social channels and on their blog in the build up to the day. As it is so huge, it can be highly competitive, so you will need to try and think of a campaign that stands out from the crowd. We've actually published loads of blogs in the past few years with ideas, so head over to blog.givergy.com for some inspiration. I personally loved Marie Curie's campaign just because it was so simple but effective. So back in 2015, Marie Curie ran a thankathon, and they basically just asked their staff members to write a personal thank you note to their supporters. They didn't ask for any money, but as a result of thanking their donors, they subconsciously encouraged them to donate again, just by placing the cause at the forefront of their mind and giving them that feel-good feeling of having helped others. Marie Curie came up with a campaign that no other fundraiser had done in relation to Giving Tuesday. They got participation from every department within their charity across 4 nations, and that made the campaign a huge global success. So yeah, get planning.
Amazing.
Right, so social media, I mean, there's so many channels and so much you can do with it, so it's a really important tool for you to utilise. So now, being an internet user means being a social networker, with 98% of digital consumers having social media accounts. People apparently spend 2 hours and 15 minutes per day on social media, but I reckon ours is more like 8 hours due to managing multiple accounts and just trawling through Instagram every time we get a spare moment.
Absolutely.
So 71% of non-profits agree that social media is effective for online fundraising, yet only 32% have a social media strategy. So it is really important that fundraisers are sharing the right content at the right time, and you need to tell your story in a chronological order rather than just shooting out random information. Here at Givergy, we manage multiple campaigns and work with hundreds of charities each year, so we've created a content calendar, and we just pop in there stuff that we need to post about, any national days that are coming up that might trend on social, any public holidays, just so we can plan ahead and be a little bit more strategic. It is such a simple thing to do, but it really does help us be more organised. And we then use a number of different social media scheduling tools within the team. So I look after Givergy.com, where we run online auctions and prize draws. So my posts do tend to be a bit random. They're a mix of whatever is on the site at that time. So I use HubSpot, and HubSpot allows me to easily duplicate posts that I've created and just change the time they're sent out. Tash uses a different channel.
Yeah, I use TweetDeck. It's again another free tool, but I look after multiple Twitter accounts for all our regions across the globe. So TweetDeck just really is an easy way for me to kind of glance in one go what's been going on overnight. I don't have to spend all day trawling through it. I can just dip in and out of TweetDeck, spend a few minutes looking over who's posting what, see if there's any comments that I need to reply back to. So it's not about just taking on the most popular tool. Really do some research and find the tool that fits what you do. There's tons of information and loads of tools out there. So do some research and find the one that kind of fits the type of channels that you look after.
Yeah, and these tools do allow you to basically monitor your keywords. So say you're Cancer Research UK, you could monitor the word Cancer Research UK, and if someone says that in their tweet or their post without mentioning you, you'll still be able to see, and you can respond or deal with it as appropriate.
It's a great way to kind of catch those people that are trying to get in touch with you but just haven't quite found that handle. And if you weren't able to get the handle that you wanted, that is a great way to kind of scoop up all that additional new business that might be coming, or donors that are coming your way.
Exactly. So Hootsuite also answered our social media marketing prayers earlier this month. We've now got the ability to schedule Instagram posts, which is a real game changer in the industry. Tash and I are going to get our weekends back now that we can schedule those in. So yeah, that's another great thing to utilise. I think the key thing with social media is to just ensure you're posting consistently and regularly. So apparently only 17% of non-profits share one post per day. And I was reading an article the other day that actually said the more you post, the more engagement and followers you'll get, rather than what people usually think is that the more you post, people are going to feel spammed by your content and they're going to unfollow you. With Instagram, it is about posting high quality images. So if they're not quite up to scratch, pop them in your story instead. And I think don't go overboard with posting. No one wants to hear from you every minute of the day. Maybe limit it to 5 posts per day per channel.
Yeah, and think about adding value to the people that are, monitoring your channel, your dedicated followers. You want to teach them, you want to give them something. So yeah, push for donations, absolutely, but also do share those best practices and fundraising tips and stuff like that, which will keep them coming back and actually staying on your channel.
Exactly. So also don't worry too much about building up your followers. Yes, it's nice to have lots and it can help create trust in your brand, but I personally wouldn't waste too much money on follower campaigns. You've just got to think about MySpace, which was once the most popular social networking site in the world. It then plummeted once Facebook took off and is now barely used. So you'd be absolutely devastated if you had invested huge amounts of money building up those followers only for it to become redundant.
Yeah, so think about your demographic too. What channels are they more likely to use? So analyze this behavior, because you don't want to create an account for every single social media platform. It's a lot of work on your part. So do try and tap into the channels that they're more accustomed to. Even though Facebook right now is probably on a decline, you might find that actually that's the space where your donors are most active.
Yeah, I think the older generation are moving more towards Facebook now, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the youngers are moving on to the new.
Exactly. So, but maybe that part of your donor base, Facebook, would be a great tool to kind of explore.
Yeah. Yeah, so video content comes hand in hand with social media posts. So I know it makes everyone squirm a little just because it does sound like a lot of work and it can be pricey producing videos. But you can start by creating content on a smaller scale just to help increase your reach and donations. So start implementing Facebook and Instagram live videos into your strategy. It's a great way to give your followers a glimpse behind the scenes of the work your charity does. And I think with the recent Oxfam scandal, it's now more important than ever to build up a trust in your following. So by doing these kind of like handheld, behind the scenes videos, it's a lot more authentic and believable. So I think it just gives a better picture of the work your charity actually does. Virtually all social networkers have watched a video clip online in the last month. And it's not surprising as videos do generate 1,200% more shares than plain text and images. Just remember, if you are posting a video on Facebook, upload it directly to the app. If you do links to YouTube, Facebook will block it because they're competitors. So you definitely want your video to autoplay in people's news feeds. And then just another stat to say that we are really seeing a shift from traditional TV advertising, with just 5% of donors saying they were inspired to give as a result of a TV advert. I don't think that has anything to do with the video content itself, but it's just due to the fact that no one watches adverts on TV anymore. We all fast forward through them. So if you do have a video that you've produced for TV, try cutting it down to clips that are less than a minute long and post on your social media channels instead, and that should really help.
Yeah, great. Email campaigns, a biggie for us and for you. So let's go through some of these stats here. Email prompted 31% of online donations made by Gen X. That's a huge portion of your donations coming from Gen X. So it's important to keep these emails meticulous and strategic and do spend time creating them. And then you've got 63% of nonprofits regularly send email updates and fundraising appeals to their supporters. This is so great to see that a huge portion of you are obviously on point with this. And we'd love to know what tools you're using. Are you sending just mail merges, or are you using free tools like MailChimp, or is there another great tool that you'd recommend your peers and us? So email marketing has the highest return on investment of any digital marketing strategy in the past 10 years. That's a staggering stat. So do invest time to create engaging emails to send to your database. So I'm just going to jump into a few best practices now, and hopefully this will kind of help elevate your email campaign, the one that you're deploying already. So Make sure the subject line is under 50 characters. It's the only thing that's going to drive them to open an email from someone they don't know. It's so important to do this, and it's so important to kind of test this on desktop and mobile. And Persia's going to tell you a funny story of when a couple of years ago when we didn't test it on mobile.
Yeah, so this was before I started with Givergy, so I'm not taking responsibility for this at all. Someone basically composed an email and the subject line said something, dinner and cocktails. They didn't test it on mobile, and when it was sent out, realised that cocktails had been chopped in half. So you can only imagine what customers were reading, and that is technically, I would say, false advertising.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was damage control for a little while, but yeah, so learn from our mistakes and test. Ensure it's optimized for desktop and mobile. As we just said, around 2/3 of emails are opened on smartphone or tablet. If your email design doesn't look great and functions flawlessly on mobile devices, you could be alienating more than 60% of your audience, and that's huge. So it's so important that your website is desktop and mobile responsive. Segment your data. This will enable you to send targeted emails. For instance, the email you send to your younger demographic could be different from the one that you send to an older demographic who have the means to donate large sums. So you can create these custom campaigns and send real targeted emails to these different demographics. And I think with GDPR coming into play in May, we're going to automatically start doing this we're going to have these like really strategic opt-in messages. So that should definitely help you start already segmenting that data if you haven't already. Make it snappy. No one wants to read a long email. And make all your links and call to actions obvious. Don't stuff in as much copy as you possibly can find. People don't have time to trawl through all of that. So you want to be able to kind of convey what you're trying to say in a few seconds. Otherwise, you may lose your reader. And as mentioned before, Persia and I spend so much time just testing. Just test as much as you possibly can. Don't ruin your chance to impress and engage donors with a typo or poor alignment or not making sure it's not responsive for mobile. Really do spend that time, because you can't send constant emails. People will opt out and unsubscribe because it's annoying. So yeah, don't ruin that chance.
And I think with that as well, always get someone with fresh eyes to be the second from last person that proves it, because they're always going to spot something that
you can't no longer see because you've spent hours trying to create this amazing email. So yeah, definitely do get a colleague to kind of run their eyes over it before you hit the database. And also experiment with plain text and rich text. At Givergy, we are experimenting a bit more with plain text, and we're seeing way more engagement with our emails. So we're not saying, don't use rich text anymore. We're just saying experiment and see what your demographic are more likely to engage with.
And I think plain text is such a good one when you're doing appeals, because you can make them seem really personal. They've got no images or your logo in there, so it looks like that person has sent a direct email to the donor.
Absolutely, exactly. And it just depends on the type of content that you are sending out. I think that's it for me for email campaigns. If you do have any questions, again, do pop them into the chat feature.
And I think with emails, just sorry before we move on, we do use MailChimp here at Givergy as well as HubSpot, and MailChimp's so great because you can send out emails to your database of up to 2,000 people completely for free. So that's a great tool to utilize.
Yeah, we definitely would love to hear from you on what tools that you're implementing at the moment to send out those email blasts. So over to Lizzie now to go through some Givergy.com stuff.
Brill, thanks, Tash and Persia. So I'm just going to talk to you briefly about our public-facing platform, which is Givergy.com. I'll take you through some case studies, so where we've worked with our partners on their campaign and employed all the online marketing tools and techniques that Persia and Tash have been explaining about to sort of great effect. So Givergy.com, it was set up a few years ago when we found our charity partners needed an online platform outside of events to fundraise and engage their supporters. It's a very simple concept. And how does it work? So how it works is a client sources auction items and prize draw listings. So we put them on the site, and the team then creates your charity page and listings. And then depending on those sort of items that you've managed to source, works out a personalised marketing plan to raise the most from the items, and also to have the biggest online impact they can have. So this includes lots of the sort of techniques and tools that the girls have been talking about, email campaigns to our database, which is over 40,000 strong, pay-per-click, so all those sort of Google ads and things, and also lots of campaigns across all our social media. So what we'll do is we'll work out sort of the right campaign in terms of your listings, and obviously sort of work even to maybe getting them into publications, so sort of online publications and printing publications. But this will totally depend on obviously what you've managed to source. So if you run a campaign on Givergy.com, you can expect some key benefits, which hopefully will really appeal to a lot of people. First of all, it will widen your audience. So obviously your events and all the regular fundraising activity you have does appeal to supporters that you've got on board already. But as a charity, you always want to be moving forward and maybe encouraging different demographics to support your cause and get involved in your fundraising. So doing a campaign on .com can really sort of open up your audience and bring on board new supporters. But it also provides a different way for your supporters to give back to you. Not everyone can attend events and do runs and marathons. Maybe people do want to give to you, but in terms of having an item to bid on or something, they sort of feel like they get something back as well. So again, giving another avenue for people to give to your charity. It also grows your online footprint, really important. Obviously, what the girls have been talking about. You really want to sort of, with .com, the people that bid on your items, they have an opt-in. So at the end of your campaign, you will hopefully get some new followers that you can include in your database, and then all your marketing, online marketing that there forward, you can include these new followers in. The big thing about .com, I think, which is a major point for it, is it reduces outgoings for charities, which I think is really important. Putting on events is costly, not only in terms of staff resource, but outgoings as well, initial outlay. The best thing about .com is it's so low risk in terms of charities getting involved. There's no upfront fee. So at the end of the campaign, that's when we take a commission out of the sort of what's been raised. So in terms of, especially for smaller charities, it's a great way of fundraising because you don't have that, outlay at the start. So, experiment with it. If one item doesn't work, we will trial another one, and the team here will always do as much as they can to make sure that, your item raises as much and has the most impact online as possible. And obviously the big thing is it's simple and easy to use.
I think with that as well, the examples we've got on the screen are some of our, top performing ones. So we do also do the little auctions that raise a couple of £100 depending what they ask for.
Exactly, and I think that's it. If you come to us and say, look, I've managed to get hold of these items, we'll liaise with you and consult on you about the best ways that we can sort of put them out on the platform. And sort of going back and forward and working with you on that is part of what the team do. So I'm going to talk you through a few examples. So sort of a broad range of the sort of different organisations and charities that we work with. Warchild, starting off, obviously quite a big name charity, quite high profile. They've run 2 campaigns with us now. One just finished last month, which was very successful. What they do is they create something called the Brit Weeks gigs. So it's sort of the week leading up to the Brits. They get lots of artists to put on small, intimate gigs. And what they do on .com is they basically they sell the last ticket. So all the gigs sell out very quickly because of the artists that they get involved with, Rag and Bone Man, Ed Sheeran. And what they do is then the tickets that they then auction are no longer available to buy. So again, it increases the price that they maybe can go for, but it also makes them a bit more special as well, because these are your average gig tickets. There's nothing VIP about them, so it's very easy for the charity to sort of put them out. And also what Warchild do is they make a big thing of it. in terms of the branding around the Brits. So all the online sort of buzz around the Brits and all the artists, they sort of leverage off, and that again sort of increases the amount that they raise from their campaign. And from that as well, they're able to get sponsors on board. So I think this year they had American Express and London Evening Standard sponsoring them. So again, they can raise revenue from other parts of the campaign as well. And what Warchild did this year, which was quite special, was they keyed up with Spotify, and where Spotify has sort of a gig finder. So if you like Ed Sheeran and you want to try and find the local gigs, Warchild were actually able to advertise their gigs through Spotify, which took you to the listings on .com, on Givergy.com. So you were able to bid for the sort of sold out gigs that way as well. I think what Warchild did here, which was really special as well, was engage different demographics. So again, appealing to sort of, maybe sort of 20 to 35-year-olds, maybe somebody that they don't normally engage with. So again, although it's not sort of mega bucks that they're, sort of raising from this campaign, I think they raised just shy of $6,000 from 27 pairs of tickets. They did probably get a lot more sort of users coming on board with them. They actually had, I think, just over 13,500 page views for all of their 27 pairs of tickets. So again, if they've got people associating with the charity, it's again a big feather in the cap of the campaign. So the next example is a little bit different. Voice of Racing. This is actually a company charity. So it's actually for At the Races, which is a broadcasting channel which broadcasts to 12 million UK homes of all the sort of racing. And I think this is quite a different sort of example because it's quite a niche audience that they appeal to. Not everyone loves horse racing. I find it deathly dull. I shouldn't really say that, but each to their own. And I would say that in terms of appealing to them, they obviously have some great items that their audience are really going to get involved with. So they have things like prominent jockeys signing silks, paddock passes and enclosure tickets, lots of things like subscriptions to lots of different magazines, loads of different items. But as you can see, they were able to raise nearly $45,000 from just 2 campaigns of this type of items. So again, they were able to leverage their database of, they do have those 12 million audience to sort of advertise to, but they were able to sort of leverage that to, make a considerable amount of money off, not exceptional items, but items that appealed to their audience. And I think, that means that, anybody can do this if they've got the right, avenues in terms of making it work in terms of marketing. So Voice of Racing, they raise money for 3 different charities each year, and they sort of again marketed their Givergy.com campaign out to all of them, and it worked really well, and they're going to be doing it again this year, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think what was so great about this is the auction was part of an external campaign, so they had like live events, fundraising happening, and a mix of other different campaign ideas, so they still recognised that they did need to do the whole online aspect just to widen their reach. And
I think that, again, what Persia said, you can do it off the back of, if you've not got a massive event, that doesn't matter. You don't have to have, your standard sort of silent auction. If you're holding an event, why not sort of put 5 items on Givergy.com and you can advertise them to the people that attend that event as well. So it could be just a simple drinks evening, or around a sort of maybe a sort of a challenge event. So if people are doing a run, it's just another way of fundraising around an event.
Yeah.
So this case study is quite interesting. Womenkind Worldwide, quite a small charity, but again, we like this campaign because, again, it was so simple. What the charity did was they got, an easy to source handbag, and they made it special and unique by getting lots of women influencers to sign a bag charm. So it became, a really one-of-a-kind item. And although, again, they didn't raise mega bucks from it, what it was able to do, this campaign, was, have a huge amount of reach. And obviously, they were able to get into the publications that you can see on screen, so Vogue and Harper's Bazaar, and engage with, again, a completely different audience and demographic. So big build up in terms of what they were able to get in terms of PR, and then obviously, hopefully, and what they did was get lots of users engaging and supporters engaging that they probably didn't have before. So really effective campaign with a very simple item.
Yeah, and I think if you do have a good relationship with a company where they could give you an item as simple as a bag and you can do something with it, then it's a really great thing to do. And by getting all these international women involved, it meant they also got international coverage. So it did just really, really, really increase their reach.
Yeah.
In such a simple way.
Yeah, you don't have to have the massive structure of coming up with these amazing auction items. It can be something simple. Just think about the sources that you've got around charity ambassadors and think what you can brainstorm, what you can maybe come up with.
And if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So ask away.
There we go. So final example, quite a big one. Comic Relief. The campaign that was run through Comic Relief last year was our biggest campaign to date, for obvious reasons. But they had what they did was quite unique. They had 45 listings over their campaign, and they raised over 384,000, which was pretty impressive, because what they were able to do was engage two different types of audiences. So they duplicated a lot of their items and were able to run them as an auction item, but also a prize draw. And we think that's a really effective way of fundraising on .com, because you do engage two different types of audiences. One that can, splash the cash at the auction. They don't mind sort of bidding up big bucks. But there are those that can't do that. They want to try and win, but also give back to the charity at the same time. They are happy to, put £5 down or £10 on two prize draw tickets in the hope that they would win this prize. So actually that was so successful, because actually in the end, the auction raised 198,000 and the prize draw raised 186,000. So very similar in terms of the split between the campaigns. I think this obviously was Comic Relief do have, a great number of celebrity ambassadors, and not every charity is lucky enough to have that. But I think what Comic Relief did was, they put sort of resource into this in terms of, coming up with fun content. So you can see the image there. They did online videos and got all the celebrities involved to tweet and get involved on social media. So again, the impact of everything that was going on just spread like wildfire, and had a massive impact on the amount raised on the campaign. And they also came up with quirky items as well, spray tan with Claudia Winkleman. I would have loved to have been a fly on wall with that. But
raised over £3,000,
and it's something so simple. It's somebody, not just it's just, I think it's in terms of being a little bit different marketing. It's fun, and people are happy to sort of get involved in it.
I think the quirkier it is as well, the more likely it is to build up that buzz in the media. And if it is a prize draw, people are more likely to share that, just because why would you not get your friends to enter, and they could possibly, take you along to meet Ed Sheeran or whatever else.
Definitely. And again, I know this is obviously an example. Comic Relief have a huge amount of resource. But you can do this kind of content very simply. If you are lucky enough to have a celebrity ambassador, get them to do some pictures with some boards where they write a hand message. You can do Skype calls. There's so many different things, and the team are happy here to sort of sit down and say, look, what have you got as a resource, and we'll come up with some ideas for you. We're happy to do that, and we'll always try and come up with the best things in terms of what you've got available to you. So hopefully that's kind of taken you through all the different ways. So in terms of an overview of how the platform works, if you have any questions, we'll take them at the end, but I think it's over to Tash again.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through a few takeaway tips from the marketing side of the webinar. I'll go through these quickly, and then followed by a Q&A session. So always have your target market in mind. Produce a constant stream of new content. Share your goals and achievements. Keep the conversation with supporters open. Include social sharing buttons, and add call to actions to drive donations. Now, we live by some of those there, so we really do recommend that you try and implement them in future campaigns.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so if anyone has any questions, submit them now, and we'll get to them. We have had a couple come in throughout the webinar. So the first one is, should I spend money on Facebook advertising? So I think this is tricky. I think you need to look into your analytics on your page and see if posts are performing well. And if something has had a huge amount of engagement, then definitely put a few pounds towards it. I would look for patterns in your posts that have done well, and then use that as a guideline for your next set of posts. So I hope that's cleared it up. If you need us to confirm further, send us an email afterwards, and we can definitely assist with that one.
I have one that's just come through. Persia and I should hopefully be able to help you with this one. Subject line length. There is conflicting info about ideal subject line length, but lots of research out there that says longer subject lines are better. Thoughts?
Well, I think it is important to keep them short. I think, again, it's looking at your demographic and which devices they use, but here at Givergy, we do see a large percentage of people on mobile, so it is important for us to keep that subject line
as
down.
Short and snappy. And we're not saying, definitely include the information you don't want to not give them the right information in the subject line, which then leads into information in the email that doesn't correlate. Do add in those important elements, but I do think keep it as succinct as possible.
Yeah, and depending which email marketing platform you use, a lot of them do give you the option to pop in preview text, which is, I think, over 150 characters. So we tend to have that really short subject line that's really eye-catching and engaging, and if someone's not quite sure, they can look at that preview text then before they open.
Which goes into a bit more detail.
Yeah, but again, trial it, see what works best for you.
It's all about testing, and I mean there's so many best practices out there. It's just about finding what's good for your organisation and your demographic. We hope that helps.
I've got another one that came through earlier. So if you could summarise the webinar into 3 top tips, what would you pick? Should we do one each?
Yeah, okay, you go first.
So I think with social media posts, use hashtags. You can't guarantee that the people following your channel are the people that are going to engage with that post. So by using relevant hashtags, you're opening up that post to a much wider audience.
I think one of my favourite takeaways from this would be to make sure you test on all those different devices. Mobile, desktop, don't alienate desktop, don't alienate mobile, because I actually find that a lot of my emails that I send to my database open on desktop. A lot of our B2C customers open on mobile. So do that research and analyze those stats to see what your demographic are doing. Test and test again.
And then for the third, what do you think? I would go with maybe CTAs.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure that they're clear, they're concise, and your CTA doesn't always have to be a pushy donate button. Do drive people to other parts of your website, and going back to the buyer's journey, you kind of want to nurture them into becoming donors. No one's gonna at first sight start donating with just because you've had like the sentence and then the donate button. You really do have to spend time educating them. So use those CTAs to point people to perhaps a webinar or a page on your website.
Yeah, so
I've got one here. We're often asked how fundraisers can make the most of their online campaigns without spending money on advertising. We'll be discussing what channels to use. Discussing which channels to use to maximize global awareness.
I think that's the preview from the webinar that's just cropped up there. There's another one. Let's just click down. So, so I had heard about Google Grants, but I wasn't quite sure how to set them up and what to use them on. Could you advise? Do you want to answer this one, Lizzie?
I'm obviously these girls are the sort of brainiacs around all this content, but I was just thinking of a very easy way that you could use your grants. Not only so say if you were running a campaign on Givergy.com and you had some sort of listings on the site, what you could do is create ads for those listings. And when you create a listing on Givergy.com, it also creates a charity page. So when a supporter might click that ad, not only is it taking them to an opportunity to bid on an auction item to raise you obviously money for the charity, but it will also take to your charity page where you can create the content that they see. So whether it's embedding videos from YouTube, having images or text about what your charity actually does, having your charity mandate on there. So it kind of, I reckon using a grant in that kind of respect would be really useful, because not only is it going to get you through bidders on your auction items, but it will also take you it'll also take the users to your charity and engage them in what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I think that's all of the questions, unless Tash wants to read out the preview text of the webinar again. Okay. So we just want to say thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you found the information useful. If you do have any further questions, email us at enquiries@givergy.com. We know we've ran through a lot today. We've tried to keep it quite basic, and if you haven't managed to take notes, we will be sending around a document soon, hopefully this afternoon, with just a roundup of all the platforms that we've mentioned and the free tools you can use, like Riot, the keyword planning tools. So yeah, we hope you found it informative and useful, and if you do need any help fundraising, please get in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.